Weta is the common name for a group of about 70 insect species in the families Anostostomatidae and Rhaphidophoridae, endemic to New Zealand. The word is from the Māori language, where singular and plural have the same form. General characteristics. Many weta are large by insect standards, and some species are among the largest and heaviest in the world. The physical appearance is like a katydid, long-horned grasshopper, or cricket, but the hind legs are enlarged and usually very spiny. Many are wingless, because they can cope with variations in temperature. Weta are found in a variety of environments, including alpine forests, grasslands, caves, shrublands and urban gardens. They are nocturnal, and all New Zealand species are flightless. Different species have different diets. Most weta are predators or omnivores preying on other invertebrates, but the tree and giant weta eat mostly lichens, leaves, flowers, seed heads, and fruit. Weta can bite with powerful mandibles. Tree weta bites are painful but not particularly common. Weta can inflict painful scratches, with the potential of infection, but the defense displays consist of looking large and spiky, and they will retreat if given a chance. Tree weta arc their hind legs into the air in warning to foes, and then strike downwards, so the spines could scratch the eyes of a predator. Pegs or ridges at the base of the abdomen are struck by a patch of fine pegs at the base of the legs, and this action makes a distinctive sound. These actions are also used in defensive gallery by competing males. The female weta looks as if she has a stinger, but it is an ovipositor, which enables her to lay eggs inside rotting woody soil. Some species of Hemiandris have very short ovipositors, related perhaps to the burrowing into soil and laying their eggs in a special chamber at the end of the burrow. Taxonomy and evolution. Fossilized orthopterans have been found in Russia, China, South Africa, Australia, and New Zealand, but the relationships are open to different interpretations by scientists. Most weta of both families are found in the southern hemisphere. Weta were probably present in ancient Gondwanaland before Zealand.The separated from it, although this does not explain the presence in New Zealand. Rhaphidophoridae dispersed overseas to colonize the Chatham Islands. Although they are of an ancient lineage, the present species are quite young, which conflicts with those earlier ideas about dispersal of weta forebears around the southern hemisphere. Giant, tree, ground, and tusked weta are all members of the family Anostostomatidae. Cave weta are better called tokariro, and are members of the family Rhaphidophoridae called cave crickets or camel crickets elsewhere, in a different Enciferan superfamily. Species. Tree weta eggs are laid over the autumn and winter months and hatch the following spring. A tree weta takes between 1 and 2 years to reach adulthood, and over this time will have to shed its skin around 10 times as it grows. Giant weta. The 11 species of giant weta, most significantly larger than other weta, are themselves large by insect standards. They are heavy insects with a body length of up to 100 mm excluding the lengthy legs and antennae, and weigh about 20 to 30 grams. A captive giant weta filled with eggs reached a record 70 grams, making it one of the heaviest documented insects in the world and heavier than a sparrow. The largest species of giant weta is the Little Barrier Island weta, also known as the weta punga. Giant weta tend to be less social and more passive than other weta. They are classified in the genus Dionacrida, which is Greek for terrible grasshopper. They are found primarily on small islands off the coast of the main islands, and are examples of island gigantism. Tree weta. Tree weta are those most commonly encountered in suburban settings in the North Island. They are up to 40 mm long and most commonly live in holes in trees formed by beetle and moth larvae, where rot has set in after a twig has broken off. A hole, called a gallery, is maintained by the weta, and any growth of the bark surrounding the opening is chewed away. They readily occupy a prior-formed gallery in a piece of wood and can be kept in a suburban garden as pets. A gallery might house a harem of up to 10 juveniles of both sexes, females and one male. Tree weta are nocturnal. Their diet consists of plants and small insects. The males have much larger jaws than the females, though both sexes will hiss and bite when threatened. The 7 species of tree weta are: the Auckland tree weta Hemidana thoracica can be found throughout the North Island apart from the Wellington-Wairarapa region. The Wellington tree weta H. crassidens occupies Wellington, the Wairarapa, the northern parts of South Island, and the west coast. H. trewiki is found in Hawke's Bay. H. ephemerata is found in Marlborough and Canterbury. The rare H. ricta species occurs in Banks Peninsula. The west coast bush weta H. brophy largely overlaps with the Wellington tree weta in Nelson and the northern portion of the west coast. H. Māori, the mountain stone weta, lives in the drier areas of the South Island high country from the Kaikoura Ranges south to Rock and Pili Range near Dunedin. At most sites, it lives on the ground, under stones or in crevice, but in at least 2 island sites which have not been modified greatly. It readily lives both in trees and on the ground. Mountain stone weta can survive being frozen for months in a state of suspended animation down to temperatures of -10 degrees Celsius, because the hemolymph contains special proteins that prevent ice from forming in the cells. It also displays the defensive behavior of playing dead, by lying still for a short time on its back with legs splayed and claws exposed and jaws wide open ready to scratch and bite. When the territories of species overlap, as with the related species H. ephemerata and H. ricta on Banks Peninsula, they may interbreed, although offspring of sterile, tusked weta are characterized by long, curved tusks projecting forward from the male's mandibles. The tusks are used in male-to-male combat, not for biting. Female tusked weta look similar to ground weta. Tusked weta are mainly carnivorous, eating worms and insects. There are 3 known species in 2 different subfamilies. The Northland tusked weta Anisora nicobarica, in the subfamily Dionacridinae, the Mercury Islands tusked weta Motu weta isolata, and the most recently discovered, the Raukumara tusked weta Motu weta riparia. Motu weta is in the same subfamily as ground weta Anostostomatidae. The Northland tusked weta lives in treeholes, similar to tree weta. The Mercury Islands, a middle island tusked weta, was discovered in 1970. It is a ground-dwelling weta, entombing itself in shallow burrows during the day, and is critically endangered. A Department of Conservation breeding program has established new colonies on other islands in the Mercury group. The Raukumara tusked weta was discovered in 1996, in the Raukumara Range near the Bay of Plenty. It has the unusual habit of diving into streams and hiding underwater for up to 3 minutes if threatened. There are probably other tusked weta species still to be discovered. Ground weta are classified in the genus Hemiandris. About 40 species of ground weta occur in New Zealand, and several very similar ones are found in Australia. They are also very like the Californian Cenomortotix, of similarity perhaps due to the very similar habits and habitat. Most of the Hemiandris have not been described. They hide in burrows in the ground during the day, and those that live in open ground conceal their exit holes with a specially made perforated door. During the night, ground weta hunt invertebrate prey and eat fruit. Cave Weta. The 60 species of cave weta have extra long antennae, and may have long, slender legs and a passive demeanor, although they have no hearing organs on the front legs like species of Hemidon and Dionacrida. Some are very sensitive to ground vibrations sensed through pads on the feet. Specialized hairs on the Churchian organs on the antennae are also sensitive to low-frequency vibrations in the air. Cave weta may be active within the confines of the caves during the daytime, and those individuals close to cave entrances venture outside at night. But most species are forest dwellers, and a few are to be found in the high alpine screes living among the broken rocks covered with snow up to 6 months of the year. The weta stay frozen until springtime. New Zealand species are classified in several genera in subfamily Macropathenia family Rhaphidophoridae, and are very distant relatives of the other types of weta. Conservation. Although the weta had native predators in the form of birds, reptiles, and bats before the arrival of humans, introduced species such as cats, hedgehogs, rats, and mustelids have caused a sharp increase in the rate of predation. They are also vulnerable to habitat destruction caused by humans and modification of the habitat caused by introduced browsers. New Zealand's Department of Conservation considers 16 of the 70 species at risk. Programs to prevent extinctions have been implemented since the 1970s. Some examples of especially endangered species are tracked by radio beacons. In popular culture, New Zealand Visual Effects houses Weta Workshop and Weta Digital are named after the insect, and included a giant version in the 2005 film King Kong. Defunct New Zealand band Weta were also named after the insect. 2ZB talk show host Lindsay Yo also had a character named Wally Weta, who was a sidekick of the popular Buzz O'Bumble children's character.